Hi everybody, welcome back. We're going to talk about constructed response assessments. Constructed response assessments are those types of assessments that require students to actually come up with the answer on their own. Unlike selected response assessments where they get to choose the answer, here they have to think about it and create their own answer. We will talk about three different types of constructed response assessments: fill in the blank, short answer, and essay questions. The first of these is fill in the blank. And fill in the blank questions are the ones where you just provide a small blank for a student to finish a sentence. These generally assess factual recall, many of the same levels of thinking that we find in selected response assessments. Students supply their own answer, but it's a one word or a very short phrase. When we're creating fill-in-the-blank questions, we need to think about a few things. There should be only one correct answer. Also, when you are physically making the test, you need to make sure that all of the blanks are the same length, or you can actually give away clues to the answer just by the length of the blank that you leave. You need to be careful that you don't give grammatical clues before the blank so students know perhaps that the right answer starts with a vowel. Best practice tells us that ideally we should only have one blank per sentence instead of multiple blanks for students to fill in. And you need to make sure that you provide enough detail so students know exactly what you're asking of them. Here are some examples of some fill-in-the-blank questions. In the percussion section of the orchestra are located blank, blank, and blank. Now obviously the person who wrote this test is looking for three different instruments or parts of the orchestra, but it could be answered by saying Jimmy, Larry, and Betsy, because those are three people who are located in the percussion section. So there isn't really enough information to get at the right answer. The next question is better. In what section of the orchestra is the kettle drum located? That would lead us right to the answer, which would be the percussion section. The third example is one that we've probably seen. The capital city of Minnesota is little blank, big blank. It's a dead giveaway that it's St. Paul. And the last one, the President of the United States is, of course, we're probably looking for Barack Obama, but we might get things like nice, terrible, a man. We could get all sorts of things. So again, be as specific as possible so you do get the answer that you're looking for. The next type of test questions we'll talk about are short answer. And these are the types of questions where you ask students a specific question or give them a command telling them to do something. You need to be careful when you're writing these types of questions, again, that you don't inadvertently give away the answer when you're asking the question or giving the command, or that you don't use direct quotations from the textbook. It's just not best practice to do that, and sometimes the language sort of gives away the answer because it comes directly from the textbook. You need to make sure that what you're asking students to do is clear. They know exactly what you are looking for in that particular question. Here are some examples of short answer questions. Who is the current President of the United States? By saying who, you're asking for a person. Name the current President of the United States. There's an example. One of them is a question, one of them is a command. The next one, what are two pros and two cons to having mobile devices in the classroom? Again, it's short, concise. It can be answered with two pros and two cons. This way students know they need to come up with two for each. You're not just saying what are the pros and cons, where you might get one or two word answers, or you might get 6 paragraphs. So again, short answer questions can just be used when you need a little bit more information than you can get through a fill-in-the-blank type of question. Sometimes we need much more information. Sometimes what we're asking students to do is some very higher order thinking, and that's when we need essay type questions. These are also referred to as extended written response, but we'll call them essay questions. These are used to measure higher order thinking. They're used to measure complex outcomes. We often ask students to synthesize, evaluate, and create when they are writing essay questions. So these are really big questions. You need to use these when you are measuring knowledge, mastery, and reasoning that requires higher order thinking. Be careful to not overuse these because they are difficult to score and they're difficult to write. Researchers in assessment say we should really save these for significant outcomes or significant standards that we need to measure. You also need to remember that students who are not proficient in writing in English can often find difficulty just with that part of answering essay questions. So you'll need to take that into account as well. Essay questions need to be very clearly stated. The question has to be thorough, but it has to be specific. Ideally, you should provide students with an approximate amount of time that they should spend on these. You need to make sure that all students get the same essay questions. I know sometimes it's popular to provide, let's say, 4 essay questions and ask students to choose 2 to answer. The problem in doing this is that if the 4 essay questions are all assessing different concepts, then it's impossible for you as a teacher to know if they understand all 4 of those concepts if they only answer 2 of the essay questions. You can give choice in essay questions if they do indeed assess the same concepts that you're looking to assess. So step 1 when you're writing a well-constructed essay question is to set a clear and specific context. This kind of sets the stage for the student so they can know what it is that you're asking them to do. Step 2 is to tell the students the kind of reasoning or the kind of thinking you want them to use. In this particular setting, we're asking students to analyze, to describe, and to use some specific terms. This way students know how they should answer this question. Step 3 points the way to the right response without giving away the answer. This will help students figure out how much they need to do, what kind of things they need to do in order to get the score that they're hoping to get. For instance, you should provide scoring detail whenever possible so that students know how much or how little you're looking for. Perhaps you've had this happen where you answer an essay question and you provide 4 examples. And when you get it back, you don't get them all right because the teacher wanted 6 examples or 7 examples, which you certainly could have provided if you had known that. So this is where you want students to know what is it that they need to do to answer this question completely. So here's what this essay question looks like when we put it all together. You can see it starts out by reminding students what it is that we've been talking about, setting the stage for them to be thinking. It specifically tells them we want them to analyze 2 dimensions, we want them citing instances, we want them describing and using specific terms. They know what kind of thinking we're asking to see. It also then provides scoring. As a student now, I know that I will get 5 points per instance for a total of 15 points. This provides much more guidance for students so they know how to best respond to this question. Extended constructed response, the big essay questions, can do a lot of things really well. Every content area can use these and use them well to find out what students understand about bigger ideas and bigger concepts. Please be careful when you're using them that you do provide enough information so students can be successful. A few last things to think about before you start writing your own constructed response test questions. Save words like who, what, where, name, list when you're asking for restricted responses. Keep those for those short answer types of questions. When you're writing the essay questions, use clear, specific language. Tell the students what kind of thinking you're looking for. Avoid general terms like reflect, discuss, talk about. Students don't know what you're asking for when you use broad terms like that. And again, don't permit choice in the essay unless their choices will ensure that you can assess everything that you need to assess. Now it's your turn to give it a try. You will be creating a constructed response assessment that you can use in your teaching or in the work that you do, hopefully. And your assessment needs to contain at least 3 fill-in-the-blank questions, 3 short answer questions, and 1 well-written essay. Good luck and have fun!